So basically I ran out of luck. Everything went bad at the same time. You make your own luck. You know, if you don't keep up on maintenance, it'll come back to haunt you. Hello and welcome to, well, Carlin's Worlds. Yeah, that should work. I'm a wanderer, a tinkerer, sometimes a nomad, a military veteran. I do things differently. There will be tinkering. I have a motorcycle, a truck, and a school bus. I live off-grid, so there will be some solar, batteries, inverters, and maybe even some wind. It blows. And that's all I can fit into about 30 seconds. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Cool. On with the show already. Plan for today, I've got a flat rear tire. I've got 2 new tires, 2 new tubes. I've also got a replacement rear shock. I bought the tires and tubes from Revzilla. I bought a few things from them. I usually get good service. I have never had to send anything back, but things get here in a timely manner. So let's see, we'll kind of run through this real quick. I've got the new tires are over here. I'm holding on to the dream that they're going to stay clean until I get them mounted, then I'll get them dirty. So I'm trying to keep them out of the sand. So these are Shinkos. A bunch of people on forums raved about them, so we'll see how they go. E700 Trailmaster. And I'm pretty sure I got exactly the same thing on the back, only different size, obviously. So, all banded together. And this is kind of funny, is this is how they shipped them. There's the, what are these? Yeah, these are priority shipped. There you go. So that's the tires. Over here I've got a pile of parts. Here's my tubes. I was trying to get matching stuff, but it was a matter of what was available. So I ended up with a Bridgestone for the front and a Metzler for the back. All right. Also, because my rear shock is blown, oh yeah, shout out to Revzilla. There you go. I'll probably put you somewhere appropriate. The rear shock is blown, so I got a used rear shock in this box, which we'll see that shortly, but it's in there. The replacement shock came with linkages. The bike has got a lowering kit, which I think is part of my problem, is the bike sits too low, and so I'm bottoming out on the road. So it's got you can kind of see that's one of the links there, this part, the dirty part with all the oil and dirt stuck to it. All right. So on eBay, one payday I picked up this, which is the original link for the suspension, not the lowered one. All right. So my plan was to put those back on first to get the bike up a little higher, and then I never got around to putting it on, and so when I bought the shock, I think the shock also has another set of links. I'll kind of run through this real quick. So what we're going to do, we're starting with the back tire first. Also, to do the rear shock, the book, which I have a maintenance manual out here. Since I'm not an expert on motorcycles, it's a good idea to take a time to read through that. These are good books. They really break things down well for you. This is a 2007 model on this one. Take the rear wheel off first, so cotter pin, loosen this up. We'll loosen up the jam nuts, push the wheel forward, disengage the chain. When the wheel is all the way forward, you got enough slack, you just lift the chain off the sprocket, and then what I do, I pull it out away from the guard and use a piece of a coat hanger and I hook it up to the handle back here. And that just keeps the chain from hitting the dirt. Okay, that's a good idea. On the opposite side, we do kind of the same thing with the rear brake caliper. 2 hex head screw heads, bolts, whatever. Take them out. I'll try to yell them out when I remember what size they are. Pull the brake up and again hook it to the handle. It's convenient, out of the way. That'll keep this from hanging from the hose and it gets it out of your way. All right. take the nut all the way off and then kind of support the wheel. I usually just put my foot underneath it, my toe, to hold the tire up, take the pressure off, and then slide the axle out. You've got a series of spacers. That's one right there. And I never can remember exactly, but I think there ends up being two on this side. So there's a little one here, and then there's another one that goes between the sprocket and the wheel. And there's a series of spacers and bearings. Okay, and obviously that chain is looking awful, but I live in the desert. That's about the best it's ever going to get out here. So there you go. Once the axle is out, then we can just pull the tire out and double check to make sure we haven't lost anything. And what I try to do on here, since I've got, the benches available, I'll lay the parts out on the bench in order as they came off the bike, so that I can kind of look at it. Okay, this goes first, this goes second, and so on. I'm also going to have a piece of cardboard out here to catch anything that hits the ground. Okay, cotter pin. The right way is to throw the cotter pin away when you're done. The real way, I'm 100 miles from town out here. Every time I do any shopping, I forget to buy more cotter pins, so we'll put that away in a minute. I've got a tool bag I keep in the truck. I don't really have a lot of tools on the bike, except for the tools that it came with. So what I do, I have within the tool bag, which is a military style fabric bag, I've got gallon size freezer bags. And then I can kind of sort my tools there. So I've got a bunch of wrenches in one, sockets in another, 1/4-inch sockets are in a separate bag by themselves, pliers, and so on. So I made up one bag of all the motorcycle stuff. So that makes it easier. At one point I have a 1/2-inch drive breaker bar. I was probably way over tightening this at one point, but I was like, yeah, I need to have this tighter. So I've got a 1/2-inch drive 24mm for this side, and I don't even remember what the other side is because I very seldom have to hold it. It's got enough friction so you can pop it loose on this side and then you're good to go. Alright, so knowing that we're going to have to do the brake caliper first, I'm going to leave that in there for now. When I worked as a mechanic, after a while you started using the same hooks for different things, and so it made it real easy. In the top drawer of your toolbox, you would save all your special coat hangers for different projects. Alright, so that one on this bike is a 6mm hex. Alright. And I bought these specifically for the motorcycle trip up to Alaska, so it's just nice to have. You can do it with just a regular Allen key, but this is easier, nicer. If you're going to do any wrenching, if you look at the money you're saving by not going to the shop, you might as well buy some decent tools. Eventually you'll break even. Now what I always do, when you take something apart, put the screws back in so you don't lose them. And kind of pay attention, are they the same size? So like these, same size. There's not a long one and a short one. Some things you'll run into that actually, it matters which one you put where. Okay, so what I'm going to do, lift this off. Careful not to drop everything. Sometimes the gloves mess you up. Now I don't lose my screws. At least not right away. And it kind of depends what exactly are you doing that day. Case in point here, I'm not just changing the rear tire. I'm going to be pulling the tire off and then doing something else and then eventually getting back. So, yeah, that'll work. Just like so. Now I'm tied up and I'm not supported. I'm going to watch this, or at least try to remember. When I disconnect the rear shock, this is going to drop, so I've got to pay attention to that. I may change this a little bit and tie the brake caliper to the bracket. Might make sense. just so that I don't have weight on this hose. That's the idea. And this bike being a 2007, it's over 10 years old. It's a good time to start looking at your hoses, see if you got something coming apart. Probably a good idea to change this. But several motorcycles I've had, I ended up with leftover wrenches. Sorry to the guy I sold the bike to, I probably forgot to give you the wrenches. But so in my kit, I've laid out, you know, I know that I'm going to use these wrenches for taking the rear tires and rear wheel off and stuff. So in this case, since we're taking it off and taking the chain off, we'll back that all the way out. So I got lots of slack. This bike, it's a 12 millimeter and a 14 millimeter. So the big one you hold and the little one you turn. These are the jam nuts that keep your chain tension set. Okay, so we're done with those wrenches for now. Put them away. By away, I mean just not where I kick them in the dirt. I'm really conscious out here of the dirt, because if I drop something in the sand, one, you got sand all over it, but two, you'll never find it again. Speaking of, I forgot my cardboard. Now I can kick the wheel forward. Alright, now I got lots of slack in the chain. Just kind of grab the loose part of the chain and roll it off the sprocket. Now, if you're out on just a simple tire change, you could leave it there and it'll probably stay if you're careful. Just don't drop it in the dirt if you can help it. Since we're here, I think this was probably the one I used last time. Hook it, something like that. Now you're set. Okay, next, yeah, we'll stay on that side. I'm just going to take the castle nut off and the washer, and I'm going to try to put that somewhere where I don't think I'm going to kick it off. And then I'm going to put my foot under the tire to kind of support it, and push the axle out. As you do this, things are going to start falling, so kind of just pay attention to where things came from. Okay, axle, you drop it all the way down. Foot out. That's one spacer. There's your sprocket, this comes off. And you can kind of tell looking at things, this is clean, so this went inside here. So if you happen to, I mean, this obviously you can't put it together wrong, but if you look at your spacer, it's got a clean side. That would have fit in there. Okay. Is this another one? No. Yeah, that comes out sometimes, so don't lose it. This one wedges down into where your bearing is. I'll try to keep that in there. And then on the opposite side, here, this is kind of a dust shield spacer. Goes on the other side. Okay, for now, I'm done with the tire. And if you didn't see the other video, this is why we're changing it. I lost inflation. I was coming out of work and it seemed a little low. I thought I had enough. I should have aired it up at least. I didn't have a tire patch kit with me and I didn't have any of my irons. In fact, I think the day after this, the packages I picked up at the post office were tire irons and patch kits. So I was already starting to think about doing this because, you know, I'm down to very little tread left. Now the way it worked out, since I knew I was on a basically worn out tire, I wasn't too worried about screwing up the tire because I was going to change it pretty soon anyway. And it was 100 degrees and 50 miles across the desert,
And I don't really have a wide circle of friends here that'll come pick me up and give me a ride. So I kind of went with the best choice I could do, and I got it from work to basically where my post office is, where I pick up my packages, and then the tire basically fell apart. So from there I was only 10 miles from home. It's a lot better than 50. So the way it worked out, I dropped off my riding pants, jacket, and helmet at the post office with the guy that works there, and started walking for home. I didn't walk more than a mile, and I got a ride. So yay for that. It's good when you're close to home, people start to recognize you, and you know, people out here will give you a ride. You break down on the freeway, you're pretty much on your own. So anyway, got home, grabbed the truck, got back, went to the post office, picked up all my stuff again, plus the packages, which included the tire irons, and got the bike loaded up and got home. And the video of unloading the bike is where I fell off the ramp, and that's already uploaded. A bunch of people have seen that already, so this is still part of that story. So yay for that. Okay, let's get this out of the way, and I'll pick up all my pieces. What I'm going to do, just on my workbench here, I'm going to lay the pieces in order of how they go on the bike, and so I can put them back on again. You know, if you're not used to doing this kind of thing, it's a good idea to take pictures as you do this. You can take something like chalk or Sharpies and put marks on things. I used to do that a lot as a mechanic. When you're taking something apart, if you mark how things line up, put a little chalk mark on it. Then when you go back together, you just look for the marks and put it back where it was. It saves a lot of time, because if you're not really sure, if you don't do that job very often, that can really save your butt. Okay, tire's off. That's all there was to it. If I wouldn't have been talking, it would have gone faster. Okay, we're kind of shooting against the light. It's 10:45 in the morning on the 4th, and we're going back together. I got the tire blown up to about 35, I think is where I left it. Set that there. Grab all my parts and lay them out. Okay, this should go relatively quickly. I've got way too much experience doing rear tires. I don't have any experience pulling the front off yet. Last chance, make sure I got the rotation going the right way. Looks good. Set that in there. Couple things to be looking for as we slide this in. Push your chain adjusters all the way in and forward. There's a bracket that caliper rides on that adjusts with the wheel. That'll mess you up. Okay, I'm catching on the chain guard. Go figure, this never happened before. Bike dropped down a little bit. Oh, right, my swing arm probably is lower now. That'll make things interesting. Huh. How about that? Wow. That's going to change everything. Oh, no. Because I took the lowering links out, now my axle is way lower. Like a couple inches lower. So before, also this tire is taller. Because it's got tread. That makes sense. Alright. So, I'm going to pick up my loose parts. I got to jack the bike up higher. Yeah, that's just freaking hilarious. I actually had to stop to see if I put the suspension together wrong. At least 2 or 3 inches just to get the wheel on. one hand just so I don't lose it here. That seems to be riding nice. Now, how best to do this? Spacer still in there, good. Okay, now do not be pounding that in hard as you're going through all the different bearings and spacers. If it's not lined up, stop and try again. So make sure you didn't miss your brake or your chain adjuster, because that's really annoying. Actually, really close. There you go. Last thing going in, look for your cotter pin hole. Makes life easier if it's sitting straight up and down where you know where it's at. If you don't know where it is, you got to keep turning the nut till you find it. It's still doable, it's just a pain in the ass. Okay, I'm going to get the washer on there, castellated nut. Okay, wheel is basically on there. Okay, now, it is going to make my life easier if this thing is up off the ground for putting the chain on, lubing the chain, that kind of stuff. So now that we got things sitting, let's get it up a little bit. See if we can get our stand where we want it. Gently. Good. It's not a record time, but still 16 minutes considering I had to stop and figure out the lift again. Not bad. Okay, I'm going to get the chain on and then we'll do the brake. So you got a good angle on the chain now that I'm not going to swing parts around. Chain on. We'll tighten it later. Now, other side. Somewhere on my list is that I'm still going to probably buy new brake pads, just not today. Save that for next time. Take out my screws. If you were unfortunate enough to bump your brake pedal or some other random occurrence like that, your brake pads, the brake caliper piston is probably extended and you're going to have a hard time getting this back together. Anyway, while we're in here I'm looking, yeah, I've got some brake pad left. It's not a lot, but you can press this back a little bit, open up your space. These ones actually slid pretty easy. I've heard some of these are just freaking frozen from sitting in the water or something like that, so. Now that's where it's supposed to be. Okay. Once things are in alignment, slide it down over the rotor. Gently. There we go. Nothing to it. Yeah, what was happening, I can't really show you on camera, but there's a kind of a spring clippy thing that puts a little bit of tension on the brake pad to hold it in position. And probably the last time, or one of the times I pulled the wheel off, I bumped it. And I never took the time to really figure out what the problem was. I just managed to get it jammed in there somehow and left it. So this time I took the time to figure out which way that spring clip was supposed to go. Now I think it's where it's actually supposed to be. So that's good. The book probably says there's a torque value on this, and again, since I don't have a torque wrench, keep in mind though that's I think on an aluminum casting, and you don't want to screw up your caliper, so don't kill it. I'm just going to snug it up. I'd say it's about 15 to 25 foot-pounds. I could look it up, but you know, you get the idea. Okay, brakes are on, chain is on, now we can adjust the chain. Now, this is a mix of new and old parts, which you're not supposed to do, granted. Right? So I'm going to just pull the wheel back to a starting point and spin them down by hand. New chain is on the list. It was supposed to be, the new chain and sprockets was supposed to be first, then I had the tire go out. So basically I ran out of luck. Everything went bad at the same time. You make your own luck. You know, if you don't keep up on maintenance, it'll come back to haunt you. Okay, right now I'm almost at the second to last notch, which means I know I'm wearing the chain out. And it's going to be a factor of I live in the desert. I don't care what you do to your chain if you run it through sand constantly. I mean, the only way I could really improve my situation, at the end of the sand, stop and clean the chain every day. Now, how practical is that? You know, you're going to work, you don't want to get all goopy, you got your clean clothes on, you know, what are you going to do, right? So, or you just replace the chain every now and then. This thing is gritty, but I don't have any practical options really. You either run the chain dry so that the sand doesn't stick to it, or you lubricate the hell out of it and at least hope you're lubricating the metal, but you're holding the sand. It's kind of a no-win. So there you go. If you can find a good dry lube, that's supposed to be a good idea. I like that idea. I just don't have any right now. Let's see, you're really supposed to tension the chain on the ground. So I'm going to leave it like that. It's kind of like a whole new motorcycle in that it's a hell of a lot taller now. Just a little up and down the driveway right now. But, you know, to get the full perspective of these tires. Now, these used to have a lot more on them, right? But now I've actually got tread. That's kind of nice. These were probably going almost close to hydroplanable if it ever would rain. And same on the front. Pretty good wear on these. And the new one's in the shade. I think that'll pick up okay.
Well, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, that should work. Cool. I do things differently. Oh, and please, if you like any of this, it would be really awesome if you could subscribe and click that notify bell. Drop a comment if you have any questions or ideas. Share, like, comment, subscribe, notify. Oh, and Patreon if you're really an awesome kind of person. Thank you so much for watching.